Hi, boys and girls. I have a book today that's a very funny book, and I love this author of this book, and he's actually going to be our new author of the month. His name is Robert Munsch, and Alligator Baby is the name of the book. And the illustrator is Michael Marchenko. But this is Robert Munsch, and that's actually a picture of Robert Munsch. That's the author right there. Alligator Baby. He's a very silly author. His books are funny. That's why I like them. One night, Kristen's mother woke up and yelled, "A baby, a baby, I'm having a baby." Kristen's father jumped up, zoomed around the room, got dressed, and grabbed Kristen's mother by the hand. They ran downstairs to the car, and they drove off really fast. Vroom. Unfortunately, they got lost. They didn't go to the hospital. They went to the zoo. But it was okay. Kristen's mother had a lovely baby, and then they drove home and knocked on their front door. Blam, 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 blam. Kristen opened the door, and there was her mother, holding something all wrapped up. "Kristen," she said, "would you like to see your new baby brother?" "Oh, yes," said Kristen. So Kristen lifted up the bottom of the blanket. She saw a long green tail and said, "That's not a people baby." Kristen lifted up the middle of the blanket, saw a green claw and said, "That's not a people claw." Kristen lifted up the top of the blanket and saw a long green face with lots of teeth and said, "That's not a people face. That's not my baby brother." "Now, Kristen," said her mother, "don't be jealous." Just then, the baby reached up and bit Kristen's mother on the nose, and she yelled, "Ah!" Then the baby reached up and bit her father on the nose, and he yelled, "Ah!" "That's not a people baby," said Kristen. "That's an alligator baby." "Oh, goodness," said her mother. "We've got the wrong baby." So Kristen put the alligator baby into the fish tank, and her mother and father drove back to the zoo. They came back in an hour, and they knocked on the door. Blam, 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 blam. Kristen opened the door, and her mother said, "Would you like to see your new baby brother?" "Oh, yes," said Kristen. So Kristen lifted up the bottom of the blanket and saw a fishy tail and said, "That's not a people tail." Kristen lifted up the middle of the blanket and saw a flipper and said, "That's not a people flipper." Kristen lifted up the top of the blanket and saw a face with whiskers and said, "That's not a people face. That's not my baby brother." "Now, Kristen," said her mother, "don't be jealous." Just then, the baby reached up with its flipper and flapped her father's face. Whop, 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 whop. And then he yelled, "Ah, it's a seal baby. We've got the wrong baby." So Kristen put the seal baby in the bathtub, and her mother and father drove back to the zoo. They came back in an hour, and they knocked on the door. Blam, 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 blam. They said, "Kristen, would you like to see your new baby brother?" "Oh, yes," said Kristen. She lifted up the bottom of the blanket and saw a very hairy leg. Said, "That's not a people leg." She lifted up the middle of the blanket and saw a very hairy arm and said, "That's not a people arm." She lifted up the top of the blanket and saw a very hairy face and said, "That's not a people face. That's not my baby brother." "Now, Kristen," said her mother, "don't be jealous." Then the baby reached up with its feet and grabbed her mother's ear and her father's ear, and they both yelled, "Ah, we've got the wrong baby. It's a gorilla baby." Let me do it," said Kristen. So her mother and father put the gorilla baby on the chandelier in the living room, and Kristen went off to the zoo on her bicycle. Do you know what a chandelier is? A chandelier is a light that hangs down from the ceiling. You'll see it in another page. I'll show it to you. First, Kristen looked in the snake cage. No people babies. Then Kristen looked in the wombat cage. No people babies. Then Kristen stopped and listened, and from far away she could hear, "Wah, wah, wah." "Oh, that's more like it," said Kristen. So she followed the sound, and it was coming from the gorilla cage. Kristen looked at the mommy gorilla and said, "Give me my baby brother." The gorilla jumped away and wouldn't give the baby back at all. Then the people baby reached up and bit the gorilla on the nose, and the gorilla yelled, "Ah!" and handed the baby to Kristen. Kristen jumped on her bicycle and pedaled home. How silly, huh? Kristen knocked on the door. Blam, 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 blam. When her parents opened it, she said, "Would you like to see your new baby?" Kristen's mother lifted up the bottom of the blanket and said, "Look, people legs." She lifted up the middle of the blanket and said, "Look, people hands." She lifted up the top of the blanket and said, "Look, a people face." Kristen's mother picked up the baby and gave it a big hug. Her father took the baby and gave it a big hug. And her mother said, "Kristen, Kristen, you got the baby back. Good for you." But what are we going to do with all of these other babies? Yelled Kristen's father. "There's a seal baby in the bathtub, and an alligator baby in the fish tank, and a gorilla baby hanging from the chandelier. We should take them back to the zoo." But Kristen looked out the window and said, see, this is a chandelier right up here. See all the monkeys hanging from the chandelier. "I don't think we'll have to do anything at all. Here are the animals coming back for their babies." And everyone was okay until Kristen's mother had twins. Do you know what it means to have twins? Twins means you have two babies at the same time. So instead of one baby, she had two babies the next time. Uh-oh. Maybe she got a lot of animals on the next time. Okay, I hope you guys have a great day. Wasn't that a silly story? I love Robert Munsch, and I'll read a bunch of more of his books in class, okay? Have a great day, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.